Hey YouTubers, welcome back to another episode on the Zombie Suburban, and today it's turbo time! Alright guys, well I promised you a little bit of a surprise. This is my intake manifold off that 6.2 diesel, and you can see it has this big old honker of an EGR manifold right there in the air path. I don't know how much it really restricts the air path, but GM offered this one on all their heavy duty trucks. If you got a 1-ton truck with a diesel engine, like a delivery truck or something, this is the intake manifold that came on it. And there's probably a reason why they did non-EGR. So this is going on the diesel at this point. And anyway, it looks like it's going to be a lot better for turbocharging down the road. So let's see how this goes. Alright, well, I purchased this whole set turbocharger on eBay for 250 bucks. It's an HX35. It came off a Dodge Ram pickup truck, and it actually supposed to be in pretty good shape. I bought it thinking that I might need a rebuild, but I like it. I want to run it as is for now. I want to see how this goes. Need a few things to make this work. I've got an exhaust flange here. Lots of pipes scattered around the garage floor. Gotta get a hose for your oil inlet and a hose for your outlet, the drain. So here are my two exhaust manifolds that I got off an old Hummer. There's a guy that lives about an hour from me that has all kinds of military parts on his property, and I got these for a pretty good deal from him, a little bit less than what you can get on eBay, but again, I had to drive an hour there, I had to drive an hour back. So let's pull off the exhaust manifolds off the Zombie Suburban, and we'll see how these guys fit. Oh man, got these two exhaust manifolds off. That was a pain in the butt. Gosh. These bolts are actually too long to come out when you remove them from the exhaust manifolds. These things hit the frame. So General Motors was not thinking about a diesel 6.2 or 6.5 when they built this vehicle. It was a bit of an afterthought, I believe. But yeah, servicing these exhaust manifolds can be a little tricky with the engine in the vehicle. So get ready to spend a couple hours getting these things out. And they are dirty and messy. Yuck. Alright, so this is the passenger side exhaust manifold, flipped upside down so the exhaust is toward the front, and this thing actually fits really well on the passenger side. So I can come in here and cut this right across here, putting 90-degree on it, or maybe a little more, I don't know, and try to put that exhaust flange for the turbo right around here, right behind that alternator. So I like this manifold a lot. So this is the driver's side Hummer manifold, and this thing will not go in place no matter what. I removed the AC compressor, set off to the side here, cleared out all the wiring and stuff, and it will not fit in there because the engine block is too close to the frame rail. I don't know if a Hummer is got a body lift on it naturally, or perhaps the frame rails are spaced further apart. I'm suspicious that they're probably a lot farther apart than on these Suburbans. But like I said, these tubes here on the driver's side are just too long. So a couple options. We can maybe try to cut down this tube, move this flange over, but we may have a problem with access to that bolt there. Another option would be to use these tubes and make like a brand new custom exhaust manifold. I haven't decided which way I'm going to go about it yet. Do I want the exhaust to dump out the bottom, kind of like stock, and then wrap it around to the passenger side, or do I want to bring it out the side here and maybe come around the front of the engine compartment? I don't know. I think it'll probably be easier to dump it down and then run it forward. But we need to make a jig. Alright, so I'm about to cut this thing apart. But before I do so, I gotta make a jig so I can get these flanges in the right spot again. Ideally, you want to have an extra cylinder head hanging around so you can bolt these things to that cylinder head. That's how I do my Trans Am. But I don't have an extra cylinder head. So I'm just going to use this block of wood, this 2x4. I'm going to drill some holes in here and we're going to bolt it down, hopefully so they don't twist around too much. Let's see how we do. I got to run to Home Depot and get a few more nuts to finish up my jig here, but you can see I spray painted it black as well. In case there's any movement, I'll be able to see it in the outline of my exhaust flanges. I don't know what size these factory bolts are. They look like a 12 millimeter, but the thread's a little bit differently, so it might be some oddball thread like 1.25 or something like that. So hopefully Home Depot, if not maybe Lowe's, will have something I can match up to this, because I need to buy about 16 of these, much shorter. So be right back. Alright, so got my driver's side exhaust manifold mounted up in this block of wood here, and I've taped off a few areas to mark my cuts. I don't really want to cut on a curve right now, so these will all be cuts through this straight section of the tubing. So then I try to piece it together and, well, I'll show you how it goes. But let's make some cuts, okay? Alright, so at this point, I'm going to flip this over so I can kind of show you a better idea of how I want it oriented in the truck. So I want this to be an upside down exhaust flange, and I'm thinking about having an exit to the side just like this, but I need to have it cranked up a lot tighter than this, because like I said, we're hitting the frame right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and probably cut this down a little bit right here and re-weld it, just tack it on, so you can kind of see how this flange looks with this pipe in the car. So we'll pull this off for now. I'm going to cut this one here. Can you guys see this? Yeah, a little bit there. Alright. So we're going to cut about 1.5 inches off here. And like I said, that's a pretty straight cut. And like I said, I'm going to re-tack this, and we'll see how it looks. Before I tack it though, I'm going to clean up the metal a bit. It's pretty ugly, pretty rough. Lots of contaminants. Alright, so to tack this thing in place, I need to remove these other flanges. You need to number them, or label them, or keep them in order somehow, because you're not going to remember where they go. Who knows, that might be a good thing. Mix and match. But I'm going to able to. I got my 3 exhaust flanges off, and I just want to kind of see how this thing's going to look. Remember, I cut an inch out here, and if I tack it on here, right here, I can kind of play with it. And I'm not sure what's going to be the best angle, but the only way to find out is to tack it and see. Well, I am out of welding gas. Bad timing on that one. One more tack in there. Sorry guys for the ugly welds. Out of gas. Here is my first installation of my modified manifold. Let me get that back there. Here you can see my number 7 exhaust port back here. That's tacked into place. And that one port is just kind of holding the whole thing in line right now. And we're looking at how much room we have. We obviously have a big problem right here with the steering shaft. So I gotta figure out how I'm gonna get around that. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back here and I'm gonna notch this back shaft to kind of push the whole intake, or the old exhaust manifold, in toward the engine. Maybe an inch, inch and a half. Yeah, probably inch and a half or so way out here. I'll cut this on a bigger diagonal. Then I'll run a 45, I think, right out through here. And that'll be a good way to get around the cross member and form our crossover pipe. So far so good. Let's pull this thing back out and we'll keep chopping. This is my second try. Each try takes me about 45 minutes to an hour to get all the pieces in the right spot, but here you can see I've got this back exhaust tube tacked in there, and I've got a much better angle now. If I can get my shadow off, there we go. Got a much better angle with my exhaust pipe coming down next to my steering column and down the frame. So I can work with this. It's kind of close to this bolt right here, but I'll just kind of chop that off before I bolt everything together. But that is the beginning of my manifold. So now I gotta pull this thing back off and start connecting the dots on the other 3. Here's my exhaust flange. You saw in the first episode as I fitted this front piece here. I am now working on the 3rd exhaust port, and I have cut off the old I don't know what you call these, the tubes from this manifold completely. I am now fitting one of these pipe flanges to my manifold, and you can see it's getting to be a pretty tight fit here. I need to do a little bit more trimming here in the front. Obviously when I'm done I'm going to have to fill in these 2 holes. That's not going to work for me. But let's do a little bit more. Let's do a little bit more trimming, and we'll see how this fits. All right, here's kind of an eyeball view of the flange here. A couple of nuts in here. I'm not blocking your view, sorry about that. Gotta be mindful of the camera. Not bad. Got a little bit of a gap in there. I cut my exhaust flange maybe an 1/8 inch short. but I can fill that in with a MIG. There's also a little bit of wiggle room here. I might be able to just kind of push down on it and tack it. But I'm going to have to try it back in on the car after I do that, just to make sure that everything still fits right. So I'm going to move this over to my MIG. Well, I'm going to pull the tape off, MIG it real quick, tack it, and then we'll try it in again. We'll see how we're doing. Okay, so here is my mock-up of the third exhaust tube. As you can see, I went ahead and put a small piece of, oops, there we go. I put a small piece of metal in between there. I decided not to fill the gap with MIG metal because I may be TIGging these things later on. I'm not sure yet. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and sand this thing, make it nice and pretty and clean so I can get a good tack on it. And I'm actually going to reinstall this back in the car before I tack this. I should have pretty good access to this area right here, even in the car, so that's the best way to do it. So hang on. Alright, so I've cut out a few fill-in plates for some of these large holes on that manifold. I used a piece of 2.5-inch pipe so that I could keep the contours. Kind of a pain to cut out, but sure makes contouring it easy. Alright, so it is coming along slowly but surely. Don't let anybody fool you. These things take a lot of trial and error. I'm working on this center tube now, and I just about have it set. There we go. Look at that. Alright, so I'm actually going to try this in to the vehicle before I tackle any of this together, because I may need a little bit more adjustment. But yeah, it's getting there. Here you can see my second exhaust flange right there. You see a little bit of a cutout on this tube over here, the little triangular piece. I'm going to have to weld a piece of 16 gauge metal in there. Because I cut the flange the tube so close to the flange, it was kind of distorted, so I had to kind of make my own shaped tube. So I split the tube, opened it up that side, kind of bell mouthed it, and now I need to fill it back in. But it matches with the exhaust port a lot better now. I've got this little piece here cut out, so now I'm going to try to hold it in place with a magnet or something. Let's go underneath. Okay, here's the tube again. You can see it kind of in shadow. This is a silhouette, I guess. You can see the little pie cut opening there. And this is my piece. Let's see, it goes like this, I think. Right? Gosh darn it. Kind of sort of like that. I don't know if you guys can see it better, but it looks pretty good from down here. I like it. So let's see if we can hold this in place while we tack it from above. Alright, here we go. There's another close-up view of it. I got the magnet holding it from the back side, so I'm going to tack this in place, and then we'll move it to the bench for some better welding. Alright, so that second pipe there is tacked together. You go like this, okay? Here you can see my big triangle. I'm going to have to weld up eventually. But I've got another problem though. Okay, well, let's call it an issue. Right down in here, I don't know if you guys can see this or not. There you go. Right down in there, the bottom of that weld, I am not going to be able to get my MIG down in there to weld that. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to go ahead and weld as much of this as I can, and then I'm going to cut my tack welds. I'm going to separate this piece here from the rest of it, and I'll be able to MIG this one here to the main manifold from the inside. This is also the high-speed turn here, so this will give me a chance to smooth off that weld as well, smooth off that junction, so the exhaust gases flow quickly through there. So weld up as much as I can around there, cut it off, retack it, repeat. Easy, right? Alright guys, well here's a little bit more for you. You can see I'm working on that front tube now, and I've got an exhaust flange tacked into place on this manifold. Now with 3 tubes, this thing will come out, barely. So we'll see what happens when I connect the missing piece right there and try to remove all 4 tubes. Will it come out or not? Alright, be right back. Tube is tacked into place. It's going to need a little massaging, it looks like. The gaps are a little bit bigger than I was anticipating. It was tighter on the bench. Those things happen. So I'm going to loosen up the bolts and let's see if this thing will come out. Come on. Oh, looky, looky. Alright. Alright, comes out. So I need to finish welding this 4th tube, and then we'll try to fit it one more time. Actually, I'm not going to finish weld it. I'm just going to go ahead and tack it on the back side, because sometimes things move around. So better safe than sorry. Alright, well, here's my finished exhaust manifold. Fully welded. I checked the inside with a light for leaks. Turned all the lights out and welded them up. I am going to leave these welds fat and ugly, just like this. This is mild steel, and it is more prone to cracking than stainless. I do plan on having these eventually ceramic coated to help prevent cracking down the road, but these thicker welds will suffice for now, so I'm leaving them ugly. There is the exhaust manifold in place and tight. I've got the gasket in there, and it is ready for me to move on to the next step. I still need to figure out how to make this air conditioning compressor bracket work with the new manifolds. I probably need to grind it a little bit for clearancing and throw in some longer bolts. Hopefully they'll still fit in there. But that should be it, really. And then I can move to the other side. So stay tuned for the next episode. Thanks for watching.